It is just a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Petra Rumpf. She is with the Straumann Group out of Basel, Switzerland. And for my homies who aren't sure where Switzerland is, it's kind of right nestled in between France, Switzerland, Germany, and they're right above Italy. So she's in the middle of the whole pandemic hotbed right now. I mean, Switzerland sits in the middle, Italy to the south, French to the east, Germany to the north. And it is just a huge honor to get someone from the Straumann Group, where they're in the dental business around the world. Petra Rumpf has a strong executive track record in the dental implant industry and 20 years experience in growth management, e-commerce, operational turnaround, strategy, mergers and acquisitions. She joined Straumann in 2015 as executive vice president, head of Instradent management, strategic alliances, and moved her into her current role in 2017. Petra, you are in the middle of ground zero of the coronavirus breakout right now, which is in Italy. My friends that have big, large group practices saw your presentation a couple days ago, and I had 3 different people call me and said, "Oh my God, you got to get Petra on." That you had a world-class presentation. What does it look like to you now, this pandemic?
Well, at the moment we have closed all the dental offices here. I mean, we are asked to be at home, so it's very soon they will have a complete lockdown. So everybody has to be at home. You're not allowed to leave the house. They limit how you can go out to the supermarket. So that's where we are here in Switzerland at the moment. It has happened already in Italy. They're already in lockdown, and all the countries are preparing for lockdown.
Now, were you born in Switzerland?
I was born in Germany.
In Germany? So approximately how much beer did you buy before the lockdown started? Or are you?
Well, for me, not so much. But I'm sure many people have stocked up quite a bit, yes.
So it looks like Wuhan started, about middle of December 15th, and now it's, middle of March, March 20th, and it looks like they're coming back to work. We had Stan Bergman on, and he said Henry Schein employees in Wuhan are starting to come back on the scene. It looks like it was a 90-day event there. Is that what you're thinking about in Italy? Is that what are you thinking this is a 3-month thing, or do you think you do?
Yes, that's what we expect in Europe as well, that it will be a 3-month period of lockdown.
And why, out of all the amazing countries in Europe, I mean, Spain, France, Italy, Germany, Switzerland, United Kingdom, Poland, why did Italy get hit so hard? And did you learn any lessons from Italy that you think the Americans and the Germans and the French should pay attention to?
It got hit too hard because it started there first, and there were not as many measures taken as there should have been, and that's why the virus basically led the health system to a breakdown, and that's when they had to lock down. And we expect the same actually to happen in most of the European countries, and in the US as well.
What were you thinking? What was the driving force behind you making this presentation, Coronavirus COVID-19, Key Challenges and Core Measures for DSOs to Consider? And then it says VS 4.0, as a version 4.0. What was the driving force for you to make that presentation as head of the DSO Straumann Group?
We had the Chinese DSOs go through a series of events, and we wanted to prepare the European DSOs for the same series of events, and we would like to share that also with the US, as you're probably 2 weeks behind the chain of events that happened in China and also in Europe. So it gives time to prepare. So it's a global experience sharing that started in China and is now in Europe, and together with the European DSOs, we can help prepare the the rest of the DSOs.
So, is DSOs in Europe about the same size as America? How would you compare the DSO dental services organizations of group practice in Europe versus the United States?
It depends very much by country. So there are some countries where you have large DSOs like UK and Spain, and then there are countries where regulations have limited the number of DSOs so far, but where they are growing.
And is that the term that you use globally, DSO?
Yes.
And is it for dental services organization?
Yes, dental services or dental support organizations. Mm-hmm.
But that's the key. Do you services or support?
In Europe we typically say services.
Services, okay. And America is usually about a decade behind Europe, so we'll just start calling it services now. So do you want to you just want to go through your presentation now, or how do you want to do?
Yeah, yes, I can. I can go through the presentation if you like, and show the different key points.
Okay, let's go.
All right, so the document that I'm going to share is meant to help you in the preparation of COVID-19, and it shows the typical chain of events based on the European and the earlier China experience. And as I share the document, it's a checklist that is put together for the CEOs for leading DSOs, but it should also help any dental office prepare for COVID-19. Before I start, I'd like to thank all the DSOs who have contributed to this around the world and for supporting their colleagues in the US and everywhere. So COVID-19 is first and foremost a humanitarian challenge. While quarantines and mobility restrictions are not infallible, China's early experience with the virus demonstrates the importance of maximum containment strategies to prevent the healthcare system from breakdown. Simply slowing the pace of infection is essential to any effective public policy, and that is why we see here in Europe and what we see and we also see it happening in the US. Protecting the healthcare system from breakdown is the ultimate goal. Most governments work with the assumption that 70% of the population will get infected. But if they all get infected at the same time, the healthcare system will break down, significantly increasing the number of casualties, because it will not only affect emergency cases of COVID-19, but also all other critical emergencies and any intensive care. I've added a link to a video that shows the situation in Italy and that forced the strict people measures in Italy. So maximum containment is key to slow down the infection. Through imposing the drastic measures, China was able to control the pace of infection. You see the orange graph of China and the slowing down of new infections. China is now starting to release their people mobility limits in a controlled way. People are back to work and DSOs are starting to be operative again. At the same time, you see the exponential growth in the rest of Europe and the rest of the world. In fact, if we do not contain the pace, our healthcare system will likely break down. In the US, I saw statistics estimating that the number of people that could die from that could be in excess of 2 million. The next slide shows the reason for the fast transmission. In summary, the illness is contagious enough and it spread quickly and it's deadly enough to be concerning. And it's followed by the mortality rate estimate. The mortality rate is very high for elderly people, but the Italian experience shows that it can affect the younger population very seriously as well. How does the COVID affect the dental office? The first effect you will see is a drastic decline in patient traffic through social distancing. Morning Consult made an analysis on the general behavior of consumers during COVID. Dental offices are not covered in the analysis specifically, but the European dental offices have seen patient traffic go down 75 to 90% within 2 weeks due to social distancing. On this page, you see the typical chain of events as it unfolds in Europe, or as it has been unfolding in Europe. As you can see, the US follows in a similar path, with some states in the US taking the lead. The first phase starts with social distancing. People are discouraged from socializing. Larger meetings or events are discouraged or entirely banned. The second phase starts with calling the state of emergency, which allows governments to limit people mobility and access, and make available crisis resources like financial support and cheap loan capacities. In the next phase, schools are closed and people are encouraged to stay at home. No visitors are accepted anymore in hospitals, elderly homes, nursing homes. Dental clinics will see significant slowdown in patient traffic, up to 90%, as it was here in Europe. And many offices will close or only stay open for emergency. In the final stage, all retail is closed except corner stores or pharmacies and groceries. And that was happened here in Italy, in Spain, and France, and what I believe is partially happening in the US already. This will be followed by the next stage, which is a strict control of hospital access. People will only be able to access emergency after phone consultation. In Italy, phone consultation of patients took place in parking lots, fever measurement, COVID. In many countries, patients that are seriously ill, unless they're seriously ill, but they will not be accepted into hospital. Often at this stage, all non-emergency care clinics will be requested to send all surgical masks and critical items to the hospitals. Normally at this stage, all dental offices are closing or reducing to emergency only. There should be a request for having a number of dental offices open for emergency to release hospitals from also treating dental emergencies. North American Dental actually put together very helpful considerations on this topic. You can access those via their website. The final stage is the lockdown mode. In Europe, some countries announced a lockdown for 5 weeks, others for 3 months. We are here in Switzerland, for example, we are here on 3 months. Germany is planning for 3 months as well. However, predictions are very difficult how long it's going to go. It is probably safe to plan also in the US for 3 months and hope for less. At this stage, people are asked to stay at home. In many places, application approval is needed and to leave the house, like in Italy. And often there's policing and fining when people leave the house without permission. And often military gets mobilized for the role of policing. Supermarket, pharmacy access is being controlled. There's only a limited number of people that are allowed to enter at the same time, and strict hygiene procedures are applied. The duration of the lockdown mode depends on the discipline of the people and the capacity of the healthcare system. In China, the government has started lifting the mobility ban in a controlled way. Dental offices are opening again across the country, and DSOs are starting their operations after 3 months of lockdown. Here you see the COVID map. When we look at the COVID map of the US, we see similar phasing of activity following the infection pace. However, predictions on the timing of each phase are difficult, as they heavily rely on official policy decision-making. In general, it seems the US is going through the same path as Europe, which approximately 2 weeks time delay. And this is the time that you should use to get ready. While more affected areas are likely to start first, it is likely that all states will probably follow route within either a few days or maybe 1 or 2 weeks. Based on the inputs that we have from management consultancies, financial advisors, and also DSOs that went through the COVID-19 experience, we put together a series of checklists. They follow the structure that McKinsey has laid out and that many corporations are using around the world. We have added the specifics in dental together with the DSOs that already went through the process. I will not go in the detail of the checklist, as the checklists are available for you to download, and you can also find them on the Straumann COVID website. I just want to highlight some key points. In order to cope and plan, you need to set up an overarching project management structure or war room. You need to align your leadership team on the potential scenarios and what will be the impact on your business. Running a financial stress test, ensuring liquidity, prolonging investments, ensuring a hiring freeze, and ensuring other measures of cost containment are super critical to ensure enough cash during lockdown. Run a table exercise on the most critical decisions, like how to deal with salaries, with which clinics to potentially keep up for emergency, or how to postpone investments. One most important step is to find and communicate clear policies for your people. Policies should always put the health of your team first, showing care, but also aligning them behind clear COVID-19 hygiene and sanitation rules. It is important that you keep monitoring the situation on a real-time basis and be ready to implement on the next phase. Map out critical processes and make sure that they're operative during shutdown. Plan for shutdown. That means that people need to be equipped with mobile phones, computers, and have data access in a compliant way. It also means mapping out the most critical supplies and ensuring supply stability. Make sure you stay operative, in particular if you decide to continue emergency support. Masks, gloves, all will be in short supply. Here you can also visit the North American Dental website for ways to optimize the use of masks and increase their lifetime. You also want to keep a close eye on your suppliers. Some of your smaller suppliers will falter during the long shutdown. We can already confirm that for some of our smaller competitors. Most importantly, plan for proactive patient engagement and preparation and during the shutdown. Get ready to provide online training for doctors and critical staff at home. You want to ensure that you have a strong restart and keep doctors engaged during a longer period of shutdown. We will, for example, also be offering online training via the ITR online training platform during COVID-19. So I include the book, a link in the booklet if you like to access that. Some call it war room, some central control center. McKinsey calls it the central nerve center, as it should have strong sensors to the outside and also to the inside of the organization. Set up a project organization with different team structures. There are 4 critical ones shown on this page. Number 1, protect your people, doctors, and give purpose. It is the central communication stream. Communication with your team will be the most important activity during the crisis preparation and lockdown. It can absolutely not be overemphasized. Ensure critical supply and operations of critical processes during all phases. And number 3 is geared towards stress testing financial, issuing cost containment measures, negotiating with banks, accessing government funds, making sure the billing department is working, and postponing account payables, and reviewing capital investment. And last but not least, put a team structure around how you engage with the patients before and during lockdown. Make sure you have constant communication between all project teams, possibly utilizing Microsoft Teams or any other project management tool to keep everyone in the loop and stay agile. Most DSOs have instituted a daily conference call cadence to allow and to act swiftly to changes. In particular, when it comes to legislation and government support, there will be daily updates probably available. The first checklist is the financial stress test. The CFO, the owner committee, and financial advisors can lead that project. The ultimate goal is to ensure maximum liquidity during lockdown. Make sure that operational cost containment and cost reduction measures are implemented. Run through every single item on the checklist. Plan for the worst and hope for the best. Make sure you mobilize all pockets of liquidity and access all funding possible. And make sure you know how to pay your employees, how to possibly even offer financial bridges for employees during lockdown to help them meet their commitments. Every country provides different support mechanisms. Make sure you and your team are recent on all of them. The next checklist is on protecting and giving purpose to employees. Always put the health of your employees first in your communication. Encourage a two-way communication and ensure employees can speak up if they feel unsafe. Over-communication over communicate on safety, hygiene, precaution, and in a simple and readable format, make sure people understand the why they need to do that, and encourage people to work from home and also protect themselves and their private lives. You want to be a place that your team wants to come back to after the crisis. Once you need to prepare for lockdown, make sure that everybody in a critical role is equipped for home office, patient addresses are accessible, and patients have a phone number to call in emergency. During quarantine or lockdown, stay in touch with your team through SMS, WhatsApp. Some Italian practices organized online breakfast sessions with their people to keep in touch, and also provide psychological safety and comfort during lockdown that can take quite a few months and be a very scary experience for many people. The next checklist on operations actions to consider: map all critical processes like patient bookings, patient communication, and ensure operability during lockdown. Evaluate technologies available to monitor patients from at home, for example, dental monitoring. We offer dental monitoring to monitor dental treatments like clear aligners by the iPhone in a fully HIPAA compliant way. This is available. We have light versions available for everybody during COVID-19. Provide emergency phone numbers that are operative during shutdown, and map critical supplies and act on rationalization of supply. In particular, masks will be in very short supply, and reschedule patients proactively in case of supply shortage of critical items. Most importantly, last but not least, actively engage with patients. It's a long list. But make sure that you proactively communicate with patients. It's key during the crisis. Make sure you reschedule all patients before lockdown. Consider to send care packages, thermometers, vitamins, sanitizers to patients. Provide continuous communication via the doctor's staff to the patient during lockdown. Some Italian and Chinese DSOs provided COVID-19 advice to the patients via the webpage and social media just to provide comfort and care, and allow them to call staff in emergency to provide empathy and comfort. Also, allow yourself and your team to not only play defense, but also offense. It's also important for the morale of the team. So every crisis offers opportunities. And once the crisis mode is over, put your mind forward on how you will play offense. So list bold strategic opportunities that the crisis offers, such as taking advantage of historically low interest rates, or define M&A opportunities, and actively prepare for a strong rebound. Use the lockdown period for online training, anticipate sustainable shifts in patient behavior and demand as you plan for your comeback. China saw a huge surge in telemedicine. Also anticipate a significant increase in competitive campaigns after lockdown. Plan your own patient campaigns and re-engage with patients fast after the crisis to drive patient traffic and also capture the postponed treatment surge. Having been in contact with your patients during the lockdown will be the most important asset for you after the lockdown. And also think about mobilizing impactful post-COVID charitable engagements. The last chapter contains challenges and measures during the chain of events captured from European DSOs, but also with input from the China DSOs. The first phase is probably still relevant for many of you. You will find recommendations on challenges like how to prevent the staff from getting sick, what to do with staff that become sick, how to create a shift concept, how to deal with an increasing rate of no-shows. Here you can also consult the NIDG webpage for guidance on many of these questions, and you find quite a few on this checklist. In the next phase, you have to deal with schools being closed, having to deal with applying a shift concept, challenged with increasing number of no-shows. This can go up to 75 to 90%. Some clinics kept an emergency number and only opened for patients for emergency situations like bigger infections or emergency treatments of elderly that should not go to the hospital. If you close down, make sure that you contact and schedule or reschedule all patients. This also ensures that you have a strong start. It might sound common sense, but unfortunately, it has not been common practice here in Europe. Here in Europe, many dental offices shut down, leaving their patients in the wake in regards to their appointments, some with big infections and no place to go. Make sure that does not happen to your patients. Having to shut down the treatment room doesn't mean that you cannot operate the office from at home and keep an emergency phone line open for your patients. The lockdown period is a critical period for you, your patients, and your team. You have to anticipate many challenges during that time. You might want to provide care packages, vitamins, fever thermometers, hand sterilizers, both to your people and your patients. And possibly consider to what extent your doctors, nurses can support the community healthcare system on voluntary basis. It's likely that the healthcare system will operate beyond capacity at this stage. During close down, it is very important to stay very, very close to your employees and also to your patients. So consider Zoom breakfast by clinic and anticipate that some employees might get affected or lose somebody in their families. So make sure that you take care of that and that you are prepared for it. And possibly consider to what extent your doctors and nurses, as I said, can participate and general health care. With this, I'm coming to an end. The impact of the COVID-19 crisis is unprecedented in the modern era. The shock itself had multiple dimensions and feedback loops. Given the rapid spread, DSO should consider this set of actions, protect and provide purpose, stress test financials, engage with patients, and integrate all of these in a central project mode. We encourage you obviously to remain calm, over-communicate with your people, stay close to government policies, always be ready for the next phase, and stay close to your employees and patients. COVID-19 provides an opportunity as well to demonstrate a people-driven culture that truly cares for its employees, their families, and most importantly for the patients. As you will demonstrate the necessary agility enabled by the right set of values, you will not only manage the crisis well, but definitely come out stronger. As you progress through the crisis, make sure you keep checking in on two resources. North American Dental Group has been issuing quite a number of clinical guidelines for COVID-19, and you can also look at resources that we offer during the crisis. We will provide a continued update on the learnings and other resources like online training, patient monitoring tools that we will offer for free to your doctors and patients during the COVID-19. So with this all, I wish you all well, stay safe and healthy, and take good care of yourself and your family. Thank you very much.
Petra, that was an amazing presentation. Thank you so much for doing that.
Thank you. Thank you for giving the opportunity.
So Straumann was founded in 1954. In your 66 years, has Straumann ever had an event like this? Is this the biggest challenge Straumann's had since 1954, or have you had earlier challenges that compare?
I mean, there's definitely no comparable challenge to this one, as it is a world crisis, and we are obviously affected and participating in it as our customers are.
And you guys have 6,000 employees, so you probably get better information about dentistry than anywhere. How long do you think the dentist in the United States will probably stop seeing patients?
I would probably plan for 3 months and hope for less, and
okay,
like the Europeans do.
And you're an elite business person running at a major level. There was a survey out today by Travis Hornsby. Dentists are facing a financial crisis, basically where he's talking about that 29% of dentists in the United States have lost all their income. They're closed. They have no income. And but it's zero for physicians, pharmacists, vets, lawyers. Dentistry has been impacted very hard. So I was just wondering if you could share advice about if your cash flow goes to zero for 90 days. What advice would you give them?
Well, first of all, you have to have. I mean, we provided a financial checklist there, so make sure that you access all the liquidity that you have. Make sure that you stay in tuned with government policies. There will be government support both for your people as much as for the businesses. So make sure that you access those, and make sure that you deploy all cost containment measures that you can.
During a contraction, cash is king. And so if you stop paying your rent, I mean, I doubt your landlord's going to be able to kick you out in the next 90 days. Would you stop paying your rent, mortgage, equipment, build out, computers, insurance? Would you stop paying your bills until this turned around if you were a solo practicing dentist?
I would call the suppliers and ask maybe to prolong payment terms. You cannot just stop paying your bills, but you can ask for prolongation of payment terms with probably many of the suppliers.
And is Straumann predicting that this will affect every single country of every single continent except Antarctica? Or
it will, yes, we are predicting that it will affect most countries that we operate in.
And how long do you think it will be before we're all back on our feet?
It will probably sustain the summer until we are all back on the feet. So we expect that after the summer it will be in a different phase.
Well, Petra, I know that it's only noon here, but it's 8 p.m. there, so you stayed up past your bedtime, and I want to thank you so much for staying up past your bedtime to come talk to dentists around the world. Thank you so much for coming on the show all the way from Switzerland and giving us all your knowledge. It was much appreciated.
Thank you very much, Howard, for having me.
All right. Have a great day.
Too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.